My name is Edric Harris. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Office of Student Financial Services here at Georgetown in the lower level of the basement of this building, Hilly Hall. In my role as an assistant director, I talked with a lot of Georgetown Scholarship Program students. I was previously involved with the traditional graduate and undergraduate students, and I've been here for about 15 years, give or take, in the same office. So I'm kind of well versed in the loan process, scholarship process, federal aid processes, and things of that nature. So I'm just going to get right into it now. I'm very interactive / little informal because I like to talk back, feedback, and as I go along, so that way I don't bore you for 45 minutes. So at any point in time, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and we can address them right then and there, especially since we're such a small group, and then we can go on. So let's keep going. Oh, right here I have Gina Hart. She's one of the, I don't even know exactly what you do. She's a business manager. She handles a lot of...
whatever you want.
She handles a lot of the business affairs that happens in our office, and then Ileana is one of our student workers for the Common Sense program. So definitely, if you have any questions, they will direct you to me. If you can't find me, then we can go from there. So let's get started. The topic is, what is finances after college? Well, what's next after college? Well, some of us were still an undergraduate, and then others, like I said, we're in grad school. So we're going to talk about a little bit of everything going through the process. The key factor is understanding your federal loans, and a little bit of budgeting. I kind of edited the presentation a little bit to kind of factor around that point, especially within a short period of time, so that way you'll have a little knowledge of the whole federal process. So, loans and debt are what we're going to kind of touch bases on. And please, when we talk about student loans, there's nothing to be scared of, especially for my undergraduate students. Student loans federal student loans are actually not a bad thing. Now, am I pushing them on you? No, I'm not pushing student loans on you. However, it is not a bad thing or it's not a negative thing. One of the benefits of having a student loan is most of us are 18, 19, well not us, I'm past that a couple years ago. But because you're 18, 19, 20 years old, a federal loan is not a bad thing. Reason being because it helps you establish credit. And in the process of establishing credit, you don't really have credit at 18 and 19 years old. And I'm kind of transparent. My 19-year-old, I was talking with him, and he doesn't have any credit. I'm trying to think of ways to help him build credit, so that way he can establish his life as he gets older. So federal loans are a good way to start building credit without going into credit card debt, which I'll tap on a little bit. I'm not a professional at it, but I'll tap on it a little bit. But student loans are not a negative thing. So if you're looking at your financial aid package and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this loan, or if you're talking to your peers and they're like, oh my gosh, I got this student loan, it's X amount of dollars, don't panic and tell them not to panic, because they are the best loans out there. They have the lowest interest rates, which I kind of show on the presentation, so that way you'll be able to understand how it's going to help you build credit in the long run. So there are two types of federal student loans, which is the subsidized loan and the unsubsidized loan. Now, when we're doing our financial aid package, Georgetown is a school that's based upon demonstrated need. So one of the need-based loans is the subsidized loan. And what do I mean by need is that when you're completing the financial aid application, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, it helps us to understand exactly what the need of the family is. And so we're going to say, oh, well, you are eligible for X amount of dollars of scholarship, you're eligible for X amount of dollars in federal work study, but you still have some unmet need that we have to fill. So we're going to offer you a need-based subsidized loan to kind of help close that gap between your family contribution and your scholarships and your work study. And again, the subsidized loan is not a bad thing. The subsidized loan is actually one of the best because it does not incur any interest while you're in school, as long as you're enrolled in more than half time. So you're not bearing any interest. If you have a subsidized loan now, you're not bearing any interest. Now, the unsubsidized loan, if you notice on your financial aid packages, we don't initially offer you an unsubsidized loan. The reason being is because Georgetown is one of the schools that has the lowest debt ratio of graduation. Because we don't initially offer an unsubsidized loan. The reason why we do not do that is because that one bears interest at the time that it disperses. So if we offer you a unsubsidized loan today, and it pays to Georgetown tomorrow it starts to bear interest. And just thinking, if you are bearing interest between now and the next 4 years, you're just building more debt on an unsubsidized loan. So that's what you call a non-need-based loan, but a loan that you, in my terms, you have to take in case of an emergency. So if you run out of all of your financial options and you still need additional funding, you have the option of an unsubsidized loan. And so that way it fills that gap. But again, that we don't initially offer that because it draws interest at the time that it disperses. And the interest rates on both of those loans are, as of right now, 5.05%. Yes.
Does that depend, like for grad school, it's much higher, isn't it?
Yes, so grad school, actually, I will get that. If it's on our website, I'll reach over. And it's a slightly higher for grad students. So I will get that information for you before we walk out the door so you see exactly what it is. Pull up our website. It's finaid.georgetown.edu.
Well, actually, it's 6 and 7%. Grad plus loan, what does that fall?
So undergraduate students are eligible for the subsidized and unsubsidized loan. Graduate students, unfortunately, are only eligible for the unsubsidized loan. So you're going to look at the unsubsidized loan, but you're looking at the interest rate for the unsubsidized loan. And so unfortunately, the government has to find a way to get us. So they're tacking on interest for graduate students on both ends, because graduate students have the eligibility of the unsub and then a graduate plus loan. And I'll just speak to you two right quickly. The difference between the unsubsidized loan and a graduate plus loan, the unsubsidized loan is capped at $20,500. So no matter where you're going or whatever you're looking at when it comes to a program, the unsubsidized loan max is $20,500. Now, if you are looking at a program that's costing you $73,000 and the unsub is only $20,500, what happens is the government has made up this program called the Graduate Plus Loan. The Graduate Plus Loan is kind of similar to what the Parent Plus Loan is for undergraduate students. What I mean by that is that it's credit-based and it has a slightly higher interest. And the reason it's credit-based is because there's technically no cap on the amount of the Graduate Plus Loan. So the Graduate Plus Loan, you can borrow between $10,000 all the way up to $90,000. So that's why it's credit-based, because you can borrow such a large amount of it. And the unsubsidized loan is not credit-based, it is a federal loan. You are eligible for it as long as you have not defaulted in any of your undergraduate federal loans or anything like that. And I'll talk about defaults in a while too. So are we still together? Yes.
I had a question. I'm also in grad school. So back to the interest rate, does it fluctuate for graduate students?
So interest rates are fixed. Federal government interest rates are fixed, so they don't adjust. But however, they do on a year-to-year basis. So if you're looking at the interest rate, I think you said 7% now for grad students. Next year it may change. But as far as the variable interest rates, the government doesn't do this. It's all fixed.
So it stays fixed even after you graduate?
Correct. Whatever rate is right now is what will be after graduation. All right?
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
So the Grad Plus loan is based on credit of how much like they give you basically, like the school?
So basically, with the Graduate Plus loan, how that works is we will offer you here at Georgetown $20,500 in an unsub. We still meet your need as a graduate student, so we're going to meet that need with the Graduate Plus loan up to your full cost of attendance. And in your full cost of attendance, or in your total financial aid package as a graduate student, we do cover room and board, tuition and fees, books, travel. If you need health insurance, you are eligible for that, and personal expenses. So when you're looking at the price tag of your program, it tells you $76,000. I'm just throwing that number out there because that's the first thing that sticks to my mind. But if you're looking at a program that's here at Georgetown for $76,000, you're like, well, wait a minute, my tuition and fees on my sheet said only $40,000. Well, that's because you have to calculate. We're adding in the books and travel, personal expenses. We're adding in tuition and fees. So a lot of questions I get with graduate students is, oh, well, how am I supposed to live? Where's my living allowance? Which loan is it coming from? Technically, it's not coming from either loan, if I want to say it like that. What happens is that when Georgetown sends you your billing statement, you get just that, your bill statement. And once you apply for your loans, you get approved for the Graduate Plus loan. As you notice, your loans are going to come directly here to Georgetown first. They're going to collect their money off the top. There is no separation. Oh, the unsubsidized is going to cover tuition, then the remaining is a Grad Plus. Both loans are going to, boom, pop up here at Georgetown, and then whatever is remaining from those loans, is what you would request as a refund from Georgetown to take care of your living expenses. Now, if we think logically slightly, you will notice that the Graduate Plus loan, of course, is the larger loan. So, of course, if you really want to know, I would say that your living expenses are coming from the Graduate Plus loan because that is the larger loan that you're borrowing from. If your tuition fees are $30,000 for the semester and we only offer you $20,000, you know, to break it down. Still with me? All right. So that's typically how it works with graduate students. Undergraduate, you're eligible for subsidized and unsubsidized and a Parent Plus loan. Do I have any undergraduates here? Oh, undergrads. Okay, good. So just so you know, if any event of emergency, your parents have to take out a Parent Plus loan. The Parent Plus loan is still a federal loan that is to back up the student. And most that a Parent Plus loan can borrow in is up to your either estimated family contribution or up to your full cost of attendance. Once you're looking at your financial aid package, we will let you know exactly what either amounts are, so that way you know how to apply for that Parent Plus loan. And the reason why I say either your EFC or your total contribution is because if you are a student who is not eligible for a need-based scholarship because of the need of the family is not as great as others, then you will have the opportunity to borrow the whole full cost of your attendance for the freshman year, sophomore, junior, senior year. But if you have a need there and you have an estimated family contribution of about $30,000, your parents can actually borrow that $30,000 in a federal Parent Plus loan, which basically meets that need 100% with scholarship and Parent Plus loan to meet your cost of attendance. Still with me? All right. Yes, sir.
Quick question.
Uh-huh.
For graduate students, since we're not eligible for the subsidized loan, we need to fill out a FAFSA for the unsubsidized or Graduate Plus?
Yes, so anytime, which is a good question, anytime you're applying for any federal funds, whether it's grad school, undergraduate school, med school, law school, and if you're looking for any federal funds, you have to complete the FAFSA. That is basically the application to let the government know that you are interested in their funding. Now, as a graduate student, and I get this question quite often, which is, oh, well, I'm a grad student, I make X amount of dollars, why am I filling out the FAFSA? Or how come the FAFSA wants to know my income? We really don't look at the income when it comes to graduate student because you're automatically eligible for $20,500 and then you're eligible for the Graduate Plus loan with the amount that to meet that need. However, again, that one is credit-based. We don't make the determination on your credit scores or if you're eligible for it. That is through the Department of Education. But we do offer it to say, hey, look, this is a resource that the government is offering you. You have the option to use it. The key thing is all of these loans are optional. You do not have to borrow all of that that's being offered to you, especially in a Graduate Plus loan, because that one does have the higher interest between the two. There are some students who have a little savings, and if you have a savings, I'm happy for you. So what I would suggest is to take a little bit out of your savings and lower the amount of the Graduate Plus loan because you're saving yourself on the interest of having a $70,000 plus loan. So, still with me? All right. Yes, ma'am.
So can you request more from the Grad Plus loan or no?
So you can, it all depends. You can request as much as up to your cost of attendance. We can't exceed that amount. So if and I'm gonna use my calculator a little bit because I kind of want to give you the best of numbers so you'll see it clearly. If your program is $76,000, I don't know why that number's keeping in my head. I think I'm gonna give you a check for $76,000 somewhere. But if the program is $76,000, we're going to offer you $20,500 in an unsubsidized loan. So that leaves you with a gap of $55,500. That's what we're going to offer you in a Graduate Plus loan. If you say, you know what, spring semester or fall semester, I'm not going to utilize this whole $55,000. I have some savings of $20,000. I will use $20,000 and then I will use the Graduate Plus loan for $20,000. Well, next semester, or spring comes around, you'll say, we'll still offer you the remaining half of your Graduate Plus loan, but then you'll say, you know what, my savings is running a little low, I need a little bit of help for my living expenses. Do I have eligibility? Yes, you can go back and come to our office and say, hey, I didn't borrow all that I needed from my Graduate Plus loan for fall semester, can I get the remaining of for spring semester? Yes, you can have it, but you can't exceed that total of $55,000. Because again, we can't go above your cost of attendance. And the reason why is because if we do, then the government's going to audit us and they're going to say, okay, well this student's cost of attendance was $76,000, you gave them $80,000. What did they do with that other $3,000? Because that wasn't in their budget. Well, at 3,000, you go out and buy a car, you know, down payment on a house, and so forth. Those are not educational expenses, so then that puts Georgetown in trouble. So the cap at, you cannot borrow more, and your cap at your cost of attendance when it comes to borrowing. All right, a little clear, all right? So, now that you have borrowed your money for graduate and undergraduate students, we're talking about repaying student loans. And this is a question that we get a lot. So repaying student loans, one, Georgetown only offers you the loan, but when it gets into the repayment process, that goes through the Department of Education / your servicing company. The servicing company, they will actually reach out to you, I would say at least midway through the academic year, so that way you'll know who's holding your loan through the Department of Education. There's a lender that's sticking out of my mouth. I can't even get it off my tongue right now. But you'll start getting notifications from the lender saying, hey, log into our website, see what your loans are, see what your accumulated interest is on the Graduate Plus loan if you borrowed it as of now. And that way you can kind of track the status of it. Now, I see you all are writing and taking notes. Write down this website, and even for my undergraduate students, the website is NSLDS. N is in Nancy, S is in Sam, L is in Larry, D is in David, S is in Sam, .ed.gov. That's the National Student Loan Data Delivery System. What that website does, and it's good for your undergraduate students to have, it's good for graduate students to have. Undergraduate students, definitely share this with your parents. Reason why is because that website will allow you to see all of your federal loans that you borrow from undergraduate all the way up until you complete whatever degree or program you're getting. So, and it tells you your service company, it tells you how much you gained in interest. If you consolidate, it tells you who you consolidated your loans with. It gives you, because it's a federal loan, that is a federal website, and it gives you your entire loan history. So if you have any questions about, hey, I borrowed this from Georgetown 5 years ago, but these numbers aren't adding up, but something's kind of not matching, you can always go to their website and it gives you the exact dollar amount of what you borrowed through that website. It's a very good resource. I'm going to be, again, transparent. I'm almost 40 years old and I still look at it because I have to go back to look and make sure that my dollars are being taken off according to my calculations, and it has yet to fail me. So it's a very good resource. It's updated very often through the Department of Education. So hold on to that website, and your access to log it is your federal identification. So whatever you use to create your password with is what you use to log into that website with, no different passcode. Only downfall is if you lose your password or forget it, you have to go to FSA ID to reset your password, which will reset your password for all of your federal sites, the FAFSA and that website. All right? So when we're looking at repaying loans, there are many different repayment options. As an undergraduate and a graduate student, you have a 6 months grace period with your federal loans. So from the time you graduate, graduation's in May, they'll start sending you notification about November saying, hey, you know, it's about time for you to start repaying your loans. Are you enrolled in another graduate program?
That's on both the loans?
Yep, on both loans, 6 months. So here's a trick question, not a trick question, but it's a trick statement. And I want you all to try to remember this as best as you can. If you're in undergraduate and you go to grad school and you start getting notifications saying, hey, we don't have verification of you being enrolled in school, but you know you are enrolled, don't panic. Just go to the registrar's office and update the registrar to say, hey, listen, I'm enrolled here, but my lenders from undergraduate are contacting me saying I'm not enrolled. There's what you call a National Student Loan Clearinghouse that all the registrar's offices at whatever university have access to update the lenders to say this student is enrolled more than half time, put their loans in a deferment status. So that's always a good thing, and it does happen. You know, as we used to say in our office, the system is sometimes broken, and they will try to reach out to you and say, hey, are you in grad school or are you in medical school? As long as you're enrolled in more than half time, you're eligible for the deferment process with the Department of Education as in graduate, med, or law school. That's for my undergrad students and grad students, the same thing. But if you are in a second-year graduate program and you're getting notification, visit the registrar's office and say, hey, I'm in a second-year graduate program, but I'm getting notification from the lender saying, hey, I need to go into repayment, but I'm still in school. Definitely contact the registrars, they will update the system. Or the other way is to get a in-school deferment form from the lender. and take it to the registrar's office. They'll put a seal on it and send it to the lender yourself. At least one, you know that it got there manually, and then two, you have record of it for yourself that you sent it out to update the lender, let them know you're in school. But once you've done all of that, you've now completed your programs, you're in that repayment process, the government has several different repayment plans. The most popular is the income-driven repayment plan. Basically, as you see, you will set aside 10% of your discretionary income to kind of see exactly what your repayment plans are. Now, I've been in student loans for quite some time now. I'm very transparent. My grandmother told me to save my money as I got older, and because for any life unexpected happening. Unfortunately, I was diagnosed with an illness some years ago, and I totally forgot about my student loans. Called everybody, just totally forgot about student loans. Well, the government calls me and says, hey, we need $400 something, or so I'm like, wait a minute, that was my payment before, but I don't have it now. How can you work with me? So they said, well, we're going to base it off your income. What is your income, and what is the size of your household? They broke it down for me. How many car payments you had? What are your utility bills? By the time we added all of that up, my student loan payment is now $25 versus, well, I was thinking $50, but versus the $400 something I was paying back then, because I need that extra help to play catch up for being home for a year and a half. So there are different repayment options. The government will definitely work with you, but at the same time, you want to kind of save as when you graduate, just kind of save some money, put funds in the side, or as I was taught, put at least 10% of your income up into a whole different savings account. So that way, when you graduate and you start getting that repayment, you will have some kind of emergency funding set aside, so that way you'll stay on top of it. Yes, ma'am.
So this was recommended to me because I've been in a program where I haven't worked for the last 2 years, and someone said they base it off of your W-2 for the previous year, so
Right.
mine is obviously 0.
Right.
And they recommended this being a good way to take care of maybe other outstanding credit card debts, et cetera, to have a small payment.
$50 is what I'm paying.
For so is that, how does that work? Is it just for like the first year, and then they kind of touch base, and they're like, oh, now you're making?
So they do send out verifications. They will send it out. I'm very transparent because I always believe that it will help somebody. They send me a verification about, I would say once a year, around the same time. They'll send me a form that they ask me to fill it out. If my income has changed, definitely put it on there. And if it hasn't changed, still, the last one I got, I wrote income did not change, and I sent them my W-2, and that was all I sent them.
Okay.
And basically, it has my $50 has been $50. But again, you can always work with them. Like you said, you've been unemployed, if you didn't have a W-2, they'll look at that. But as long as you're communicating with the Department of Education or any lender in general, whether it's a car payment, mortgage payment, communication with the banks is key. Because the banks, all they want is their money, and they will do whatever they can to get their funding. Another prime example, again, I was out ill for some time in my car payment. I called the bank and they said, hey, we have what you call a remodification program. What? They said, we'll remodify your loan payment, and then, basically what they did is they extended my term of my loan by another 6 years, but it lowered my payment. So I told my wife, we're not gonna drive this car for so much because I want to kill it before I pay it off. But
Does it change your interest?
it actually lowered my interest.
Okay.
But it again expanded my loan amount, but it made my payments more affordable. So there are different loan options with any lenders, and including the Department of Education. All they want is their money, but communication is the key. Because I don't think they're out to rob us per se to a degree, but you definitely want to just communicate with them, and they will definitely work with you. And I am here testimony to that. All right, yes, ma'am.
So is it 10% yearly, monthly,
So they did mine on a yearly. On my gross yearly, so that's how I ended up with the $25 initially. Because in my household, there's 5 children, there are 3 cars, there's 2 dogs and a dead fish. So, yeah, I said that right. So, with my house size being the way it is, and they even ask you, what are the ages of your children? Well, mine are 19, 15, 13, and 2. So, you know, that, they look at that, and am I paying for private education? No, I'm unfortunately not paying for private education, but they know that, you know, the average cost of a child is expensive. So that all played in fact, because they want to know, well, how much am I spending on clothing? How much am I spending at a grocery store? How much, you know, so the government, they actually wanted a breakdown of all of my expenses, my utility bill. I can't never seem to get it down in the summertime because everybody's home running on air conditioning. So, you know, they want a breakdown of all the expenses. And the funny thing is, now that I said it, they always send a notification in the summertime. So I'm like, yeah, my utility bill is extremely high because of my air conditioning. So, you know, they keep me on this program because my expenses really hardly ever change when they send out the form. So, but it is done at least on a yearly basis. The pay-as-you-earn repayment plan, I know very little about that because I have not had to deal with that one. And I didn't really have time to really research that one, but I do know that that is an option out there.
What's the key difference between them?
So the income-driven one is basically they're looking at your total income. I believe the pay-as-you-earn are for those who are like in between jobs. You know, what did you earn for this position? What did you earn for that? So that's kind of what I'm believing that it is. I kind of glimpsed at it, but I didn't dig into it like I wanted to. But I'm almost sure that that's what I was reading. But I would definitely, if you have questions about it, I will give you all my email address. Email me and I will respond back because I'm definitely going to research that. The repayment student loans, this is basically the time frame of when they made the changes between the 10% and the 15%. So it was 15% discretionary before July 14th, July 1st of 2014. It's 10% after. So now they're looking at the 10%. But yes, for eligibility requirements, students, so one of the websites to remember also is studentloans.gov. Studentloans.gov and the studentaid.gov website, they are very friendly. You can actually do loan calculations with them on their website. It will ask you to log in to the website because it will have your federal loan information there as well. How many of you all did a master promissory note before in the interest council? So those are actually stored with studentloans.gov. And on studentloans.gov, that's where you'll actually be able to do your repayment calculator. Just so you can kind of get a rough estimate on how much you will be paying when you graduate. Now the payment process on your loans are estimated to about 10 years. So you have 10 years to pay off your federal loans. Let's see. So for undergraduate students, yes, what do you do if you go to graduate school after graduation? Have fun. Spend wisely. That's one of the things I definitely want to talk about. Yes, and this is another question. If for my undergraduate students, if for some odd reason you have to take a semester off or take a leave of absence, and graduate students as well, unfortunately, because you won't be enrolled in that next semester or within that academic year, you're going to go into repayment early. Because the registrar's office will notify the Department of Education, who will notify the lenders to say, hey, this student has withdrawn, this student has to take a medical leave of absence, or this student is taking a semester off. So they're no longer enrolled more than half time. So the lender's like, well, if you're not enrolled more than half time and you did not complete your degree or your program, you might as well start repaying what you borrowed thus far. So that's what happens when you take a leave of absence or go on a medical leave. However, when you return, then and you're enrolled more than half time, you go back into that deferment status. Still with me? Now, I just had a thought. When you're out on that medical leave or out on the semester off or whatever the situation may be, you can contact your lender and say, hey, can I do a forbearance? What that forbearance does is basically pausing your loan until you're either eligible to go back to complete your program, or until you just go ahead and say, I'm going to go start repayment totally. But that forbearance is like a pausing break. However, during a forbearance period, you're still incurring interest. So that's something good to know, because actually I learned about forbearance when I went out on my leave. All right?
I had a quick question about a comment you made. So regardless of the amount that we take out as an undergrad or grad student, we have 10 years to pay it out.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, just a little quick brief preview about Budgeting 101. I like talking about budgets, just a little bit. So, Budgeting 101, key thing, I said it earlier, and I'm going to be a parent to you all tonight and tell you whatever income or whatever employment you gain, pay yourself first. And how do you pay yourself first? I took my 19-year-old to a credit union that my mom is with all the way out in Virginia. Way out, way out. They have one bank only, and it's way out in Virginia. And I opened him up an account, got his account number, got his routing number. It's a savings account, but he did not get an ATM card for it. He doesn't have no kind of access for it, anything. And I told him, what you will do is take 10% of your income and because technology is so great today, we can do what you call ACH transfers or wire transfers, or you can contact your employer and say, I want X amount of dollars or percentage to go to this account, I want this to go to that account. I said, take 10% of what you make, and he's only 19, so he can afford 10%. Send it to that bank and let it sit there. And he said, Dad, well, why is it way out there? I said, because are you going to drive all the way 45 minutes to an hour just to get $100? He looked at me and said, no. I said, right. I'm not going to drive you to go get $100. So if you let it sit all the way out there, put it in a remote area bank that you know that you will probably never think about, and let that build itself by paying yourself first. One of the things, I'm being transparent, when I was out on medical leave, my grandmother said when I first started working, take 10% of my paycheck and put it away. And I did just that, but I totally forgot, because now we have paperless statements that come through, and my statement was going into an email that I don't really check that often and so forth. But when I was out on medical leave, my funding was going thin, and I just happened to be sitting at home in my chair, and I looked at my email, and I saw the statement come through, and I called my wife and I said, I think we're going to be good for another couple months. And she said, why is that? I said, we got to take a drive, 2 hours to go to this credit union, but I got some money that we can use. So my 10% that I've been saving from the time that I was 16 years old, started working, all the way up until I was 33 years old when I needed it. Y'all did the quick math. I saw your faces, y'all did quick math. That, it carried me a good ways. It helped us out tremendously. Pay yourself first. And then in the process of paying yourself first, then you have to look at your expenditures. There's so many apps on our telephones that we have, that like Mint.com. I just found a new app, it's called Prism.com. Not Prism.com, but a Prism app, PRSM. What that does, it allows me to put all of my bills, every bill, every car payment, everything that I have on this one app. And it actually allows me to even pay from that app, but it tells me what my amounts are, how much I've spent within this month, and just a whole breakdown. So it allowed me to see exactly what I'm spending and how much I'm saving all in one app. What drew me to that was, and I love being transparent. Last year I was sitting down with my wife and I said, I think I eat out a lot. I work at a university. We eat out a lot. And I sat and I kind of calculated how much I spent at Wisey's and throughout the whole year. I want to say, between my wife and I, just eating out alone, we spent about $12,000. And that's just looking at bank receipts, because now if you look at your online statements on your bank account, mine is updated to where I can kind of break it down to see restaurants and grocery store and gas. We spent about almost $12,000 eating out. $12,000 is half of what I'm paying for my car. We're not eating out like that unless it's free. So, go through a budget. Look at all of those things. Some of the students, we go have to go to the laundromat. How often do you go to the laundromat? Even though in my house, I have a lot of kids, everybody has a certain day to run the washing machine. They have a certain day to run the dryer, because the dryer is one of your largest utility expenses outside of the refrigerator. So, definitely I have to monitor those things. Electricity, you kind of get the energy saving bulb. So a lot of us are going solar power. So, you have these different options, but kind of weigh yourself. And if you're noticing that your monthly expenses are close to what you're bringing in a month, find out where you can cut back at. I knew that our cut back was us eating out, because I can't just say it was all me. But I like to eat Olive Garden and go to the buffet, and Chick-fil-A was grabbing my check too. So I had to say, you know what, instead of me going out to eat every week or every day, I narrowed it down and says, okay, well, the farmer's market is here on Wednesdays. I'll treat myself to the farmer's market on Monday. And I like Georgetown Cafe. So, our farmer's market on Wednesday, I like Georgetown's Cafe because they have this good chicken sandwich there. So I'll treat myself on Monday. Tuesday and Thursdays, I'll try my best to remember to bring my lunch. If I forget it, I'll just drink water or snack on chips all day long. Gina sees me, I snack on chips and keep it going. Then I'll try to eat when I get home, because I've heard people say eating at home and bringing your lunch is less expensive than eating out. And I found that to be true. One of the things I will talk about, I live in Baltimore, so my commute is 2 hours a day. And I have 3 cars, 2 trucks, and now I have a car. But I was looking at my gas, and I was putting out a lot in gas. So, public transportation, wherever you go, if it's good for you, utilize it. It is definitely the best option in some circumstances. We have a coworker, unfortunately she had a car accident, and she said, I'm not buying another car. She looked at how much her car payment was, including insurance, versus how much it would take her to ride the Metro. She's saving what, $200-300 less riding the Metro from her place to come to work and driving a car, and then still had to pay for parking. So look at all of your options when you're budgeting. Is it cheaper for me to have a car, or is it cheaper for me to take public transportation, ride a bike, or walk? In my case, I can't walk from Baltimore, but I had to find another resource. So everybody's buying these hybrid or electric vehicles. Well, I was driving a Suburban, so I was in a gas station every other day, $60-70 a week, literally twice a week. So I'm spending almost $100 a month, or $100 a week in gas. Add that up, $400 a month. Multiply that by 12, yeah. That's how much I was putting in gas. So I kind of wised up and said, you know what, let me see if I whip out this hybrid. So I did some investigation, looked around, and I eventually bought a Toyota Avalon hybrid, and I only go to the gas station once a week, and I only spend $30 in gas. See how I budgeted? And my car payment, because I kind of manage my money, is equivalent to what I was paying before in car payment, so nothing really changed. Except the fact that I'm saving myself in gas because I'm not putting out $200 a week anymore. And I'm just doing $100 for my wife for the truck, and then $30 for me. So you definitely want to kind of budget. Entertainment, when your friends say they want to go out, you ask them, are you paying? If they say, no, I'm not paying, then you say, well, no, I'm not going. That saves you money. But if you volunteer to go out, that means you have a little cushion to say, you know what, I can afford to go out to eat, I don't mind, and kind of budget. But if they invite you, are you paying? So seriously, but that helps you to save money. You know, I've learned, I've come to a place where I've had to turn people down. You know, hey, you want to go out, we're doing X, Y, and Z. No, I'm not going to go, because in the back of my mind, first of all, y'all are not going to include a tip in your bill. So somebody's got to pick up the tip part of it, because now the 7 of us eating out, the gratuity, and I used to get the one that get the extra part of it, and I'll be nice about it, but it was hurting my budget. So I just, no, me and my wife will eat Popeye's chicken tonight and be done. You're more than welcome to bring your Popeyes over. And like I said, emergency money, save 10% of your income. Utility bills, just, if you're home by yourself, 1 room, 1 light. I do it all the time. It saves you, you'll be surprised with 1 room, 1 light. And the dryer, it will run your bill. Education costs when it comes to school. Kind of look around. We're a technology school with technology times of living. E-books. Those are a lot cheaper than actually the hard paperback books, because paper now costs a lot of money versus what it used to cost us back then. I'm only 40. Paper back then was cheap. Now it's a lot. So save your money. Look online for your e-books. Rent books. If you can't find it on an e-book, rent your books. And if you can rent it, kind of make copies of it. Or there's an app on an iPhone called Scannable. Scannable, what it does is it takes a document, turns it into a PDF, and you can email it to yourself. I love Scannable. It does it with anything, really. Any kind of document, you can definitely take a picture with it, scan it, turns it into a PDF. If you have friends that taking notes, and you want to know, hey, I don't want to buy the whole book. I just want to copy your notes or highlight a section. Scannable, click, you have it in your email in less than 2 seconds. It's a great app. And there's an app for everything. Did y'all know that? Transportation, I talked about that. Ride a bike, take the metro, the circulator, carpool, take the Gus bus. You all know about that. Traveling. If you're traveling, book your flights 2, 3, 4, 5 months in advance if you can. I booked my cruise for my 40, I'm actually 39, I'll be 40 in January. I booked my cruise for my 40th celebration back in March of this year. And I got my cruise for one person, it's only $700 just for me by myself. My wife is going with me. I said, but if we had waited to now to book it, the trip was $2,000. I'm glad I booked it back then. So, plan in advance. If you know you're going somewhere, plan in advance. My wife wants to go to Vegas for her 35th birthday next year. I'm looking at tickets for her flights now. I'm looking at hotels now, so that way I can get it in advance, because her birthday's in June, the peak of travel season. It's going to be expensive if I wait till May to try to book her vacation. So plan in advance. And definitely check out Expedia, Travelocity, Kayak, all those are good websites. Entertainment, we did talk about entertainment a little bit. You know, I do believe in having fun. I do like to spend a little bit. But again, look at the cost of things. Plan ahead. Kennedy Center has a lot of events, but those tickets are very expensive. My daughter wanted to see that play called Hamilton. It was in New York, and I looked at she said she wanted to go to New York to see it. I said, okay, I got you. Pulled up that ticket. I put my phone down before I said, we're gonna find somebody to bootleg Hamilton. Ticket was like $1,000, and you know, it's $500. And I'm like, okay, so I said, I'm not knocking you for wanting to go. I want you to get the experience. But we're going to look in advance to where Hamilton's going to be at somewhere else now, so that way I can pay $200 approach to $1,000. So I'm like, Hamilton better sing a storm for $1,000. And then, you know, those weren't even really the good seats. They were like midway. So I can imagine what the most expensive. But kind of weigh your options. If you want to see a Hamilton play, definitely see where it's going to be at that you know you can get to that will be least expensive. Food, don't eat out. I'm serious. If it's not free, don't go. Because you save money. And if it isn't free, eat cheap. I learned. Buffet is good too. They need a buffet in DC. I don't think we have a buffet. We don't have buffets in DC. So, these are just some good resources here. For more of our workshops, we have the GU Common Sense. I'm definitely around to present a little bit here and there. Did you all enjoy everything I said? Did I keep you all entertained a little bit? Did y'all gather something from this? Sure. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps you can share something about, if you have any information about debt forgiveness?
Debt forgiveness. So debt. So depending on the program, especially not public policy, but public relations, or in the nursing field, depending on what kind. Which one?
Teaching.
Oh, teaching. Yes. So depending on the area of field that you're going into, look into their loan repayments or their loan programs. They do have what you call debt forgiveness programs, where if you work for them or I would say you obligate your employment with them for a year, they'll pay off your loans, or they'll pay your debt off. Some, I think it's a government agency. You work for them for 5 years. You give them 5 years, and they pay off your loans. So, you know, there are different programs that are out there, and definitely research that information, you know, as you're going into your careers to see if they offer these type of benefits to help you with your loan program. Even with the medical field, they do tuition reimbursement. So, you know, you kind of look into those things. It was helpful for my wife when she went to school. She wanted to complete the program, and she utilized the tuition benefits, tuition benefits or repayment process. And the way that works is you pay it up front, you maintain a GPA, and you turn in the records to their benefits office, and then they just reimburse it back to you once you complete that semester. They did hers on a semester basis. So look into the tuition reimbursement program. Yes, ma'am.
I'm in the advanced nursing career. Do you guys have the agency's information? Because I'm set up to work at Washington Hospital Center, so I know that people are like, oh, if you work here for 10 years because it's an inner city hospital, will do tuition forgiveness. Do you all have information
So,
on that, or should I research that?
I would say we wouldn't have it, definitely research with Washington Hospital Center
Yeah.
and and Washington Hospital is under MedStar, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Definitely look under MedStar, because my wife is MedStar.
Okay.
So look under MedStar and it will have all of that information there about how that program works.
Okay.
I had a question, two parts. One, I know for grad school, loans, we gotta do like entrance counseling and exit counseling. Do we do the exit counseling once we graduate, once we're done with Georgetown officially?
Yes.
Okay, and is it up to us, in the sense, will we be getting an email, or do we have to log into our account? How does that work?
Good question, because I actually had a student who came to me about that. So yes, when you start your loan program, you do your entrance counseling. For those who just want to have an idea what the entrance counseling is, the entrance counseling is just a tutorial to help you understand your loans. The exit counseling is basically helping, again, another tutorial to help you understand the loan that you've taken out in your repayment process. It is a requirement from the federal government to complete that. If you don't complete it, I really don't know the consequences of it because it's very rarely that I have a student who does not complete it. But we do send out notifications to students to say, hey, you've completed your program, it is now time to do your exit counseling. But again, I don't know the consequences of it. I had a student who came to me, he wasn't happy about him not doing it. And so, but I didn't ask him, well, what did they do? But he said he wasn't happy. He's like, I didn't do entrance counseling, exit counseling, and the government was contacting me, and I didn't get into it. But I said, well, yes, you were supposed to do it. Did you not get an email? He said, I got the email, but I didn't pay attention to it. Oh, well, read your email. But yes, there's a requirement. You do it at the end of your program, not the end of the semester, or at the end of the academic year, but at the end of the program. Once you've gotten your bachelor's degree or once you've gotten your master's, PhD, then you do the exit counseling. All right, any other questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So after graduating, you have the 6 months or whatever, and suppose you pay like 1 month and then you don't pay the other month before the 6-month grace period. Like once you start paying, does the grace period go away?
So that's a good question. I'm not sure. If you start paying, first of all, there is no penalty for early repayment. So you can definitely do that. If you start repayment early, I think the grace period still stands because you're doing it as an option to pay early. So if you just graduate in May and then you go say, I'm going to make a payment in June, but don't pay again until your grace period is up, I would contact the lender and say, hey, I just made this one payment, whether it's a lump sum or whether it's a monthly payment, and does my grace period still stand? They most likely say yes because you just optional made a payment, but you're not obligated to pay until that 6 months is up. Yes, ma'am.
And just to be clear, I know you said this, Georgetown is not our lender. Our lenders will contact us separately.
Right. For the nursing program, they have the nursing student loans, and that is it's managed through Georgetown, but they're not your actual lender. The nursing student loans will actually come from our nursing office, which is located in the Carbone. That's the only loan, and for undergraduate students, you have now what you call a Georgetown loan. Have you all heard of the Perkins program, the Perkins loan?
Someone's talking about, and that we don't repay that?
Right, Perkins no longer exists.
Okay.
So the government basically canceled out the Perkins program about a year or two ago. So no longer does Perkins exist. There's no more Perkins funding for that. So what Georgetown has decided to do is say, you know what, since there's no Perkins, however, that funding was helping students, we have what you call now the Georgetown loan for undergraduate students. The nursing students still have a nursing loan, but they're managed through Georgetown, just those loans. But their servicer is through, I can't think of the servicer's name for that program. But we will contact the loan office here for repayment for the nursing loan or the Georgetown loan. As far as the subsidized and the unsubsidized loan, that goes, and the Graduate Plus loan, that goes directly to the Department of Education.
And they're from the same person. So I would have unsubsidized and Grad Plus. My lender is the same.
Right. It should be still both the same, yes. Yes, ma'am.
So then how is the repayment calculated like right after you graduate? Is it only at the 6 months or they do it like right after you graduate?
No, it's right after 6 months grace period.
Okay.
Yep.
I had a question relating to, for the next semester that's coming, how many days do we have until returning, like, let's say we have an unsubsidized loan and we want to return a portion of it?
120 days.
120 days
Yes.
since we initially received it?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So her question was if you were to borrow funding from Georgetown or from your lenders, and you really don't need that whole loan amount, that large loan amount, how much time do you have from the time that you see it and return it back to the lender. There's a 120-day period that you can return that loan back to the lender through Georgetown without any issues. Yes, sir.
What other criteria should you look at in comparing public versus private, other than interest rate?
That's really, if you are looking at interest rate and the terms and conditions of the loans, the interest rates and the repayments, the options. Those are really your top 3 questions when you're doing your research for between private lending and federal lending. It's usually your federal loans are the best. But there's some students who will find that they have their personal banks that's outside of the metro area that have better interest rates, but they could be variable. But they're okay with the variable because it's still less than the federal side. So that's really what you're looking into.
And one last quick one.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of refinancing, when would one do that and how can you use it to your advantage?
So you can do that at any point in time, or consolidating your loans. You can do that at any point in time. Once you go into repayment and you're with, I can see one. Let's just say you're doing a repayment with Sallie Mae, for example. But then you're banking with Bank of America, and you notice that their consolidation rates are cheaper than what Sallie Mae is offering you. You can consolidate with Bank of America at any time, and they will be your new lender or servicing company with the interest rate that they're offering you at a lower rate, payment rate. Any other questions for me? All right, well, I really enjoyed you all. I talked for a whole hour and 10 minutes. I loved it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, my email address is right here, edric.harris@georgetown.edu. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to assist you.